What's up, guys, and welcome back to Eventual Acres. So I've got a lot on the plate for today, but since summer is pretty much gone now, I need to do a few things just to wrap up the fall garden. So the first thing I plan to get done today is I need to just tear all of these tomatoes out. I've been dragging my feet on it just because I still have a lot that are turning red. I have a good amount that are green. They're not going to turn red. They've been green for a while now. I don't foresee them turning red at all. But anything that is red, I'm just going to tear off. I'm actually going to tear off the green ones too. I could probably make a salsa verde or something with that. But I need to get my garlic in the ground quick. It's going to start turning to frost next month, hopefully 2 months. If the weather plays in my hands well. But as far as I'm aware, it's going to be within the next few weeks. It's usually right around that mid-October point. So I need to get these tomatoes out and garlic in stat. The next thing I need to get done is I've got a lot of weeds that are growing in here. My lettuce is looking very established. My spinach is actually looking pretty good except for this one. I don't know what's going on with this guy. He's not growing. And then my peas, I feel like it's kind of hard to see on camera, but I've got no peas here. I actually had 4 decent stalks going. Stalks, seedlings, sprouts. I don't even know what the correct terminology is right now. But I had peas growing and something came in and ate it, just like my green beans earlier this year. So I'm going to weed this all out, and then I think I'm going to be a little ambitious and try and plant some more peas in. Again, it's going to start getting cold soon. We're already hitting lows of 50 at night, but I'm going to be a little ambitious. I'm going to plant some more peas. Hopefully something grows. Even if peas don't end up growing on the plant, I still would like to see something. So I'm going to pull all the weeds out, plant some more peas, and then I'm going to put a layer of straw over the top just to keep it a little bit warmer even when frost starts to hit. Maybe that will give the peas somewhat of a fighting chance, and it'll also mitigate some of this weed issue that I've got going on. Now, the next thing I need to do after I pull the weeds out of my raised bed is I need to thin the heck out of this. These right here are not weeds. That is all carrots. I cannot have that many carrots growing in one spot because then I'm not going to get a big harvest, or rather, I might even get a good sized carrot. It's just going to be a mess. So I need to thin the heck out of this. And then again, I'm going to try and put a layer of straw over this. And same with the other raised bed that is growing carrots. So that's enough chit chat for now. I've got maybe an hour and a half left of light. This needs to get done today because I've been prolonging it long enough. So let's get her done. So as you can see, I did pull off a decent amount of tomatoes, more green than there are red, but there's a decent amount of red ones in here, which I can definitely do something with. The green ones, if they were any smaller than this, I just left them on. I don't really think even these are usable, but the big ones like this, I can definitely use. So we'll see what I'm going to make with them, but I'm actually pretty pleased with how many I pulled off. But like I said, I can't really drag my feet and just wait on these all to turn red. I got to pull them off at some point. So I'm glad now is the time. But I've got this all stripped out. There's a little tiny green ones on. Again, nothing's going to happen with them. So I'm just going to pull all of this out now and get the garlic into the raised bed. I just gotta say, it's still crazy to me to think about the fact that I started this from a seed. Something tinier than my fingernail created something so big and with such an intricate root system. That is amazing. Huh. Okay, so now that my tomatoes are out of here and not crowding the raised bed, I actually want to show you everything else that I had going on in here that I didn't really get to highlight too much during the summer just because my main focus was the tomatoes. So here I have my 4 pepper plants. Oh, I've got a pepper on that one still, but this is the only one that I've actually been pulling peppers off of. That's my sweet pepper, and then this is my hot salsa blend. That's the first pepper that I've pulled off it. This is my habanero pepper plant. He never grew. And then this was supposed to be a bell pepper. There were 2 that were growing on it, and then they fell off, and it never grew anymore. And then here on each side, I have basil plants. This one's starting to flower and go to seed. I've already pulled flowers off a couple times now because I want to continue to harvest basil and I don't want it to go to seed. And this one just started to go to seed as well. But my basil plants are huge. They're doing great. I have pulled leaves off of them quite a bit. So the fact that they're still going strong is amazing to me. And then this is the only surviving marigold plant that I have. All the other ones I think died off due to lack of sunlight during the summer. And then I had bunching onions that I had planted in here as well, and the bunching onions just never grew. But I'm gonna try it again next year. I think what I'm gonna do is put it in one of the flower pots like I did with my green beans, and maybe that'll be better. Or actually, I might put them in the raised beds that my carrots are in. Well, those are ideas for next year. But my basil and my tomatoes did awesome this year. Peppers, I think, need their own space separate from the tomatoes. That way they can get a good amount of sunlight as well and their own separate watering. So I'm going to try that next year and see if I get better results. Okay, so tomatoes are out of the raised bed, peppers are out of the raised bed. I cleaned this up, I added new soil on top. I tilled it a little bit. I know that some people argue whether or not you should till or not till. Personally, this isn't the ground, this is a raised bed, so I don't think tilling is a bad idea. I think it actually gets more nutrients into the soil, especially since I added new fresh compost on top. So mixed that around. I got the garlic planted. I did 3 rows about 6 inches apart from one another, planted at about 4 or 5 inches apart. So that should be enough room for them to grow. If you have them too closely together, the bulbs will end up being smaller. So, I mean, if I ended up planting them too close, it's not the end of the world. If I still get bulbs, that's a win for me. Now, if they're planted far apart, they get to grow a little bit bigger. So, it's really a matter of what your preference is. I'm just trying to get as many as I can. I don't really care about size right now. I could play around with that down the road once I have my first successful harvest. Again, this is my first time, so I don't even know how it's going to turn out. But now that I've got the garlic in the ground, I watered it so the soil is nice and wet, which will allow the garlic to germinate. And now I'm going to add a nice thick layer of straw on top. Again, just to insulate it a little bit, protect it from our big frost that's coming in the next few weeks. So I'm going to add the straw, and then I'm going to start weeding the raised bed over there. And I'm going to try and plant some new peas, but we'll see what happens with that. So I actually just used up all of the straw I had on hand for that raised bed. It's not really as thick of a layer of straw as I would want, but the good thing is it's fall, leaves are falling, so I can already see a whole bunch scattered all over the ground. I'm probably gonna rake that up maybe this week, let some more leaves fall, who knows, and throw that right on top too. You can use anything, you can use straw, you can use remaining hay that you might have had left over that's gone dry. You can use leaves. You can even use dried grass clippings, which I've got to mow the lawn back there anyways. Maybe once that dries out after mowing, I can throw that right on top. You just need something to insulate it and keep it warm. So I'm going to utilize what I have. I don't really feel the need to go and buy some straw. This is straw that a friend of mine gave me. So the fact that I even had enough to cover the raised bed, I'm happy about. But I'm not going to have enough for this raised bed that I'm about to pull weeds out of. So I'm just gonna have to keep pulling weeds until I can get some type of covering on this. But I'm gonna go ahead and start pulling the weeds. So as I can see right here, this is where one of my peas was. But it's dead now. Well, actually it's green, so technically it's not dead, but it's not gonna grow back. It was eaten right at the stem, so oh, it was actually getting kind of thick. So it did take root well, which is good, but just gonna have to plant some more. Again, here's another pea that I had planted. Again, the stem was getting thick, but again, keep repeating myself, but unfortunately something ate it. I don't know what it was. I haven't seen that groundhog in a while, so it leads me to believe that it's probably the rabbits that I'm seeing running around the area. But who knows? I think next year I am going to invest in getting, maybe it was a squirrel because there's an eaten coconut here. But as I was saying, I think next year I'm going to invest in some type of fence around this in my smaller buckets just to protect anything from getting eaten because, again, as you guys know, if you do any type of gardening, it's annoying to have something eaten that you planted to grow and eat. So just to protect it, I'm going to do a little bit better care of preventing things from getting easy access to it. But I don't have that option right now, so my only hope is just, I don't know, just pray that nothing eats it. But we'll see. My lettuce and spinach seem to have gone untouched. So I don't know, maybe they just had a taste for peas and that's what they wanted. But we're going to try and get some more planted today and hope it doesn't get eaten again and hope maybe something grows. Now that all of the weeding is done in here, I'm going to go ahead and plant some new peas. Again, if you saw my previous video, then you know that I like to plant anywhere from 2 to 3 seeds for the peas. They're a little bit bigger. I think I'm just going to go with 2. But I'm going to do 4 holes with 2 planted in each. And then once they start to grow, I will thin those out. All right, guys, so I managed to beat the darkness. There's still a little bit of light out, but I got everything I wanted to get done today complete. Carrots are completely thinned. I watered those. Garlic's planted, and all the tomatoes and the peppers are pulled out. Got a nice layer of straw on there. So that's good. I am going to try and add a little bit more, as I mentioned, on top of whether it's leaves or straw or grass clippings. And then with this raised bed over here, again, whatever I'm able to get my hands on, I'm probably going to throw on top just to give it that extra layer of protection from the weeds and just keep it a little bit warmer once the frost starts to hit. I got the peas planted, so that's a bonus. We'll see if anything grows. But the fact that I got something back in there, I am hopeful for. And yeah, I think I hit everything. So that's all. That's all I've got for you guys today. As always, I appreciate you guys for watching my video. Feel free to like and subscribe. It helps the channel out a lot, and it keeps you guys in the loop as to what I have going on in my garden. But other than that, guys, I will see you guys in the next video.